Welcome to Wrestling with WorldWide Willis. This episode is brought to you by the LMG Podcast Network. My name is Brandon, and today we're going to break down the latest going on in the WWE. We'll also talk about potentially some. We have a top 10 list breaking down people uh, who have left WWE, who we potentially would like to see back with the company, especially in the Triple H era. First of all, let's talk about matches of the week. I do want to shout out Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill versus Kairi Sane and Io Sky. I thought that was a really good tag team match. I'll kind of touch on the tag team division here in a sec, but I thought that was one of the best matches of the Monday Night Raw. I thought that there wasn't much like the work in the ring wasn't sloppy. It looked very well choreographed. And anytime Bianca and Io are in the ring together, it's magic. So if you have a foundation like that, you can kind of build the match around those two. And Jade's been getting better, man. Like people try to dog her a little bit, but like Jade Cargill's been getting a lot better in the ring. From their match in NXT, from the last couple of matches, she's been getting better. So I'm excited to see. I feel like they're doing a better job tag division, but I'll kind of dig into that later. But some of the biggest news we have, obviously, we have a potential Bloodline reunion. I've kind of talked about and kind of teased it on this podcast before on previous episodes, but basically we're seeing what we all kind of predicted, right? Jimmy comes back, helps Roman. Obviously, Roman is a little reluctant to ask for more help, right? Jimmy's like, yo, we need more help. Like, we still outnumbered, right? Versus this old versus new version of the Bloodline versus Solo and his crew. So we need more help. And Roman's a little more reluctant. Well, of course, Roman needs to be pushed more in the direction to ask for help. So of course they get jumped by Solo. Jimmy loses to Solo in a one-on-one match, but then they just get destroyed. Roman comes out there, he also gets destroyed just because they're outnumbered. And so this pushes Jimmy in the latest episode of Raw to reach out to Jay, of course, and just says, hey, I want to talk. Just trying to, look, we need your help, blah, blah, blah. Of course, Jay says no. Perfect. I'm glad. I mean, of course, we knew he wasn't just going to be like, oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, y'all that kicked me out, that turned on me, that y'all caused a lot of, drama and stuff for me. Nah, yeah, cool. I'll come over there and help y'all. Like, no, of course, Jay is going to say, no, absolutely not. We know what it's going to build to, right? I think it's interesting because I think what they're going to do is they're going to have where Jimmy goes to Sammy. Sammy's going to be more down, but I think Sammy's going to need, obviously, him and Roman are going to need to pair that relationship. I think Sammy and Jimmy, that's going to take a little bit, but they'll be cool pretty quick. Then they'll need Sammy and Sammy and Roman to rekindle their relationship. Then it'll be, I think, closer we get to Survivor Series, obviously, the closer the relationship will get. And I think they're going to have Sammy kind of, they're going to use Sammy, Jay, I'm sorry, use Sammy and Jimmy to kind of consistently go back to Jay and be like, hey, like, we need you, bro. I know you said no, but like, we need you. Every time he's going to say no. Every time he's going to reject him, right? Until we get to Survivor Series and he's going to show up, and the crowd's going to go crazy and it's just going to be a great moment. So, looking forward to that. But I do like the way this storyline's working out. As we know with the Bloodline, anything Roman related, Bloodline related, it's slow seeds, right? Story seeds laid out. Like they take their time, they pace it really well. And obviously you still have the Paul Heyman factor, right? That when is he gonna come back? When is he gonna join the fold of the OG bloodline, right? Um, so I'm really looking forward to this storyline playing out. I think it's a storyline that will continue to play out throughout, and it can make for one of the best Survivor Series matches we've ever seen, right? War games wise, like as far as WWE is concerned, this could easily be the best, right? Just because the history involved, it's not a makeshift kind of hodgepodge of people being put in there. Because even that year where it was Roman, Jay, Jimmy, Sammy, that was beautiful. Like that was great. And they were going against some random guys, Sheamus, Drew, you know what I mean? Some random Sheamus's crew. But that didn't feel like an actual rivalry with Sheamus's crew. It was more about highlighting Bloodline. It was more about making the Bloodline to another level. And almost even more as another level as far as being a baby face, right? Because that's when everybody loved Sammy. Everybody was rooting for the Bloodline, anyways, right? So that was great, and they've had some other ones that are cool, but I think this one can take it to another level because this one is a actual rivalry between two groups, and they're going to use war games to settle that rivalry, right? Rather than just using it as a vehicle to hype one person up or one group up, or there isn't, it isn't this huge disparity. Um, Visually, right? Like you're not going into it knowing who exactly is going to win. You think you do, but in past years, you know who was going to win for the most part. Whereas in this case, even last year's with Randy Orton coming back, like we knew what time it was. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this storyline continue to grow. I'm loving that Jimmy's back. I think again, Jimmy, bro. If I was a TV producer, like or a movie producer, I would literally be like, hey Jimmy, I know your brother's kicking off a great solo career. He's doing his thing. Hey man, whenever you're ready, like I want to get you in a movie like ASAP. Just because Jimmy's acting skills are amazing. His ability to like say lines and make you feel it. Like man, Jimmy's really good, right? There's a lot of talented people in that family, as we know. But I think Jimmy comedic timing's great. Like dude's really talented. So I'm looking forward to seeing Jimmy highlighted in this. I'm hoping that they use this time to highlight Jimmy. We know Jay is going to reject being a part of this, the old bloodline coming back together. So that's a perfect way to keep him away at a distance, right? To where he doesn't take up too much time. He says no, and then he kind of walks away. But use this time to highlight Jimmy and highlight his talents. So I think that'd be good. All right. So, like as I mentioned before, I'll talk about the women's tag team division. We might as well talk about it now. I think that the women's tag division is in a solid spot right now. People were complaining about Bianca Belair and Jade for a long time, but I think we finally got to the point to where it's like, okay, I'm seeing what you're doing. I'm seeing what you're putting down, Triple H, right? Like, with having Lash Legend and her crew kind of step up as a challenger, having Io and Kairi Zane is always consistent challengers, and just having different groups step up to Bianca and Jade, and having Jade and Bianca travel, right? Go down to NXT, have a great match down there because we know that women's division is loaded, and then come back up to the main roster and face against a good team, right? They've had two really good back-to-back matches. And then we haven't even gotten to the match that they're probably going to eventually have against Lash Legend. And I'm sorry, I forgot her partner's name, um, but that's going to be a fun match, right? So yeah, I feel like the women's tag team division is looking pretty good. I want to see a few more teams put together. Um, Gilia and Stephanie Vicard, like that'd be cool if they could, maybe challenge together for the tag titles. That'd be cool. But I feel like they could challenge, have a great match. Obviously, have someone from the NXT Women's Division maybe interrupt, cause DQ. Bianca and Jade retain, but at least it's a good, again, another. You want to use this to highlight as many women as possible, while also making Jade and Bianca look good. So I think they're doing a good job of that. I'm just excited to see them use it more because again, I feel like every month to 2 months, NXT is dropping a new woman who is amazing, right? Who's amazing in the ring. We'll talk about their latest additions to really bolster their roster. But even without those additions, they already were loaded. And they already have these, young college kids who are coming in and are getting excellent training and then becoming stars, right? We saw what Tiffany Stratton has become. So, like, plenty of examples. So, the women's tag team division, I think, is healthy. And I think if they can just do a good job of funneling up tag teams from NXT while also building legitimate tag teams Like right now, we got Liv and Raquel. They can challenge. You know what I mean? Like Nia Jax and Tiffany can challenge, right? You have plenty of others who can challenge, and obviously with them being the tag titles, that's the great thing about these tag titles. They can travel anywhere. They're not stuck to a brand, which is great. So I'm looking forward to that. We talked about Liv and Nia. Some people are not excited about this Liv versus Nia crown jewel match. I get it. The actual match itself, I am not excited about. However, I do like this crossover build they're doing, right? I like the whole, Tiffany has the Money in the Bank briefcase, the kind of crossover between them having beef with Liv, while also Rhea having beef with Liv, obviously, and then crossing over. I kind of like that. You know me, I love Survivor Series. Is probably my top two, top three favorite event of the year, and I think Crown Jewel is kind of honestly molding itself this one kind of into a Survivor Series type of situation because we're having champions versus champions. That's classic Survivor Series. That's what Survivor Series was before back in the day. The best champion from one brand versus the championship champion of another. Right? We used to have Taker versus John Cena. We used to have Batista versus John Cena. You know what I mean? Plenty of different things, but. I think that's kind of what they're doing with the Crown Jewel thing to bolster and give Crown Jewel some actual like matches that matter. But um I like what we're getting from this crossover. I think it's enhancing the storyline. I think it's making Liv look better. I think it's good for Raquel to be involved with all these different people and kind of, exerting her force on these people. Nia looking impressive versus Nia or looking impressive versus Rhea, like that puts you over a little bit. And so and I think Nia is looking good, honestly. Like the fact that Nia is defending Tiffany, but also being a bad guy, right? Like Nia isn't out there changing who she is. She's just out there beating the dog out of Liv because Liv is the other champion. She has to face her in the future. So it makes sense why she would attack her or have an issue with her. That's literally her upcoming competition. It's not like she's just, going after Liv for no reason at all. But obviously Liv has Nia coming after her, but she also still has Rhea coming after her. So it kind of molds all these storylines together, which I love. I love that stuff. You guys know me. I love storylines overlapping and intertwining and crossing over each other. So I'm really excited about that. And I think I think the best result is Tiffany Stratton comes on top. And I love what they did in the last episode where on Raw, where they had basically Nia came out there like destroyed Liv and was like, "Come on, Tiff, like get what I'm trying to do here. I want you to cash in on Liv. I just took her out for you. Easy work for you." Tiffany's going to try to cash in, and then Dom comes out there and saves Liv. Like that's cool. Like I like that. I like that. That brings interest. Again, like people complain about anything. These people are weird. But I'm saying in this fact, I like that it's added some interest and some added spice to this whole Liv versus Rhea Dom involved thing, right? That's dragged out. We know what that is. It's fun, whatever. Like we're over it. But adding Nia and Tiffany in it adds a little bit of spice, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm actually want to watch this segment now, right? Outside of just watching Rhea Ripley, right? Um, let's talk about the brief promo that we got from Cody versus Gunther this past Monday night, and I think it was a good promo. I am excited to see Gunther dig a little deeper, but it was a good showing. I think people wanted them to go out there and have a 45-minute promo battle the first time they talk to each other, which is, again, these people don't have a producer type of mind. They think just give us what we want immediately and then have to waste time for the next couple weeks until Crown Jewel. Like, come on, folks. Like, they have to drag this stuff out, build it up until we get to Crown Jewel. So I think it's going to get more personal the closer we get, right? Gunther's going to talk about Dusty. Gunther's going to talk about Roman Reigns, probably. He's going to talk about all these different things about Cody. And he's going to like strip him down, basically, like all his attributes and his weaknesses and talk about different things, right? We know that. Like we know that Gunther has respect for him, which he mentioned, but he also has cuts deep when he does go after people, and he has some material against Cody. So yeah, I'm excited. I think it was a good way to show them face to face, two champs, and get some excitement around this match, which they really don't need. They could go out there and not say a word to each other and lead up to Crown Jewel, and I'd still watch. Right, like that's going to be a great match. But I'm glad that they're making it personal and making it a situation where words are being exchanged. And I hope the more they get more and more personal. They ain't even got to put hands on each other. They ain't even got to fight. It would be cool to see Gunther kind of attack Cody while he's going through his other drama. We'll talk about that on SmackDown. It would be cool for Gunther to kind of insert himself, not necessarily for some long term storyline, but just hey, I'm facing you coming up. Just make sure you know you're going against me. I know you got this other drama with KO and Randy, but I want you to know your biggest threat is me. And focus, pay attention, right? So I think I'm looking forward to that. Again, I'm looking forward to Cody and KO. I think Cody, Cody, I like the storyline they're doing with Cody and on SmackDown with Kevin Owens and Randy. I love that. I do want to say I thought it was poor, poor decision making by Triple H and his crew by having Kevin Owens come out there and interrupt a tag team match led by black women. Like you're playing yourself, bro. You're walking into the wall essentially, right? You're walking into turnovers. Like, come on, dog. Somebody on the staff should have been like, hey, we're having some pushback on not pushing black wrestlers enough. I don't think it's a good, and also we're getting pushback from the fans that women are not getting enough time in the ring, right? They're not their matches are significantly less time. We probably don't want to have an totally men driven storyline interrupt this women's tag team match. Like that, who thought that was smart? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just wish sometimes like I could have been in the room and been like, hey, 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 I know we're trying to get out of here real quick. I know we gotta cut for lunch, but let's not it's probably not good optics to have three white men interrupt a tag team match where there's gonna be black women and women in general being showcased in the women's division, women's tag team division, right? This is last Legends. Probably, I think it's our first time being on like that group's first time being on the main roster on SmackDown. If anything, it's their first time being on this version of SmackDown, right? On CW or on USA Network. So it's like nobody thought, hey, let's probably not do this, right? Let's probably not. We can have him interrupt any LA Knight perfect. LA Knight and Carmelo Hayes. Have them interrupt that match. Because we all know it doesn't really matter, right? It doesn't matter. Like that match didn't matter, right? It was a cool match. I don't want to degrade LA Knight or Melo. Like they're both great, but they will not be they didn't need this appearance. They are there every single week, putting on great matches, doing great things. They will be back next week and have a great storyline with Melo and Andrade or LA Knight and Andrade, whatever, right? They'll be back next week. These women aren't given a guaranteed spot week to week. They just aren't. They haven't been. So why would you use that time to then insert a Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton drama debacle? Like that was just, again, it was just poor, poor decision making. It's terrible optics. Like I was on the internet that night and people were going nuts just because it was like, bro, you fell into like there was criticism there against you, and you basically was like, nah, I don't really give a shit about that. I'm gonna just have them like it was just like, bro, such like just not being aware. I'm not saying you should react to the internet at all times. That I don't agree with that. You know me. I don't believe in just being like, oh, the internet likes this guy, let's put him over. No, no. If you don't think there's talent there, don't make that decision. However, if there's legitimate gripes that women are not getting the time they deserve in the ring, specifically, there's also a legitimate gripe that black wrestlers have not been focused on in the last very good amount of PLEs we probably don't want to have our black women and our wrestler and our women in general being interrupted by a male feud, right? That's just not smart. So that pissed me off. I got to be honest. Like I was just when I saw it, I was like, nobody who thought that was a good idea. It was a great segment. I want to be clear. That was a great segment. Having KO come out there to address the rumors, the kind of the video we saw where he turned on Cody and explaining it briefly, them cutting his mic, him kind of it seeming kind of like chaotic, but in a good way. Him then getting his mic cut, so then he runs over to the announce table, grabs their microphone, starts kind of explaining himself even more, and then Cody comes out. There's a scuffle. Then Randy comes out to try to calm them both down. Like, hey, man, like, y'all both my friends, relax. Obviously, KO's amped up. He takes a shot at Randy. Randy was like, what the fuck? And slaps him. You know what I mean? Puts him down on the ground. KO's pissed at that point. Couldn't believe that Randy actually hit him, which obviously pays off later. But great segment. Outstanding segment. Nothing needs to change about that segment whatsoever outside of the fact we just need to move it. Move that. To me, honestly, you can move it. Now, you want to have the bloodline probably at the end of the show, but move that to a different match. Again, Ricochet, you could have did that Ricochet LA Knight match. You could have moved that right in the center of that match, and they would have been all fine. Would have been all good. Nobody would have had a complaint, honestly. But again, it's just unaware. Just being unaware. I think Triple H needs to do a better job on his staff. Just having someone who's a little more tapped in to the culture and just being like, hey, man, that's like, I'm gonna be honest, Shawn Michaels wouldn't have did that. Like, and I love Triple H. I rarely criticize, but Shawn Michaels wouldn't have made that decision. Shawn Michaels would have been like, yeah, let's not do that. Let's not do that, right? And also, we know NXT is basically a black sitcom at this point. like honestly, like he has more black wrestlers involved in high level storylines than anybody, any promotion in the world. Which again, shout out to HBK for that, and NXT is killing it. But again, love the segment. Outside of the interrupting a women's tag team match, I thought it was a great segment. Thought it pushed the storyline forward. Then also later on, we saw that KO started beating up Randy. He jumped Randy on the outside. So this is again bringing a ton of heat that I think is amazing for KO. Like KO needs this. KO is the type of wrestler where he will be just fine no matter what. He's a plug and play player, right? They could put him in a U.S. title match. He's gonna have a banger. They could put him in an Intercontinental match. He's gonna have a banger. They could put him in the tag team division. He's gonna have a banger, right? You could put him in the main event. He's gonna have a banger. So it don't matter, right? He's going to do a great job wherever you put him. But to put him in this light and to turn heel and be it again, Triple H is so good at this, at being an earned heel, right? A heel that you can understand their side of it, right? Drew McIntyre, for example, you can understand why Drew turned heel, right? He was pissed that all these people were like, oh yeah, all these people in the bloodline that ruined our lives for 4 years. Who cares, right? We all love them, lovey-dovey now. And Drew was like, hell no. Like, and he was just talking about his title reign and not being in front of the crowd, all that stuff. It was an earned transition from babyface to heel. And we could understand every move he made from that point on. With Kevin Owens, we can understand his heel, him turning from babyface to heel, right? Where Cody Rhodes teams up with Roman Reigns, who has caused nothing but hell for Kevin Owens for the past 4 to 5 years, right? Even in the bubble. Sorry, when they were in basically the bubble in 2020, like Kevin Owens had probably like 4 or 5 championship matches that all got DQ'd by the bloodline, right? Like he lost so many chances. He had so many chances stolen from him due to the bloodline, right? So he has deep hatred for them, right? As he's shown throughout the years. So like for Cody to then team up with them was crazy to Cody. Like you crossed the line there. You should have never teamed up with him. You know what he's done to us. So it's a very, again, earned transition to a heel. So again, I think they're doing a great job with that. I'm excited to what happens next. We did see the War Raiders. Shout out to as we saw the Vikings. They were changed to the Vikings. For those who don't know, the War Raiders were a very significant tag team in NXT back in the Black and Gold era, back when Adam Cole and all that era. War Raiders was cooking. Like if you go back and watch some of the matches in NXT, cooking, cooking right there. I remember their match with I think it was Aleister Black and Ricochet. Amazing match, amazing tag team match. But War Raiders were great, and their theme song was great. People would be like, "Roar, war, war, war," as they was walking out. It was great. It was just a great entrance. Well, of course, they come to the main roster. We know how Vince vinced, and he thought having war in their name was not good for children. So he changed their name. I think it was the Viking Raiders, is what he called them. He took out war and put in Vikings. So they were called the Viking Raiders. And they had some success, but it never felt the same, right? It never felt like the team I rooted for in NXT. So, and they've had some success. They're a great tag team. They're both very, very talented in the ring. However, we knew it always felt like a great value product just because we knew their name got changed without their input whatsoever. So now to have them back to being named their original name, the War Raiders, you could tell they were happy. You could tell they felt like, oh, okay, like this is what I wanted my um, the main card debut to be. You know what I mean? And so I think once the crowd gets into it, you'll start hearing the war chants, all that stuff. And the fact that they can say it now, like you heard the announcers talk about war. I know it seems like a silly thing, but you can see why somebody would not want a network would not want you to be talking about war or saying that for a character. But we're in a different time. We're a little different time now. So people aren't as sensitive, you know what I mean? So and they're gonna be on Netflix, so who cares? But yeah, I'm excited for the War Raiders. I think they're a great tag team. Once they get their legs under them, a little bit more, I think they'll start having some really great matches and contend for some tag titles. Because I think the the SmackDown tag division is really good. I think the Monday Night tag division can be great again. They just got to get some of these guys healthy again, and they got to, use these tag divisions and put the belts on the line. It sounds like that's what they're going to do. They were telling um, Adam Pearce was telling Finn like, "Hey, I gave you your shot to get back at Damian Priest. Now you got to defend those belts." So we'll be interested to see when they do that. I did want to talk about the NXT Women's Division, as I talked about a little bit before, but Julia and Stephanie Vaccaro both debuted, obviously, um, and they both looked the part, man. Like both are top tier talents. If you haven't checked out NXT, go check it out, man. Like they just picked up two 5-star talents, right? Julia is a big time talent from New Japan, or actually, I think she was in Stardom, but over in Japan, she's very familiar with all the great Japanese women's wrestlers WWE already has. Julia is top tier, bro. Top tier. Can really wrestle, can go. Reminds me of Io, but almost more of a strong style. Definitely a little more technical in the fact that like not high flying, but more like on the ground technical. And then Stephanie Vaccaro, man, amazing. Like that was an amazing pickup. She had a great match with. She was in AEW briefly, not really signed to AEW. She was in New Japan, but obviously New Japan wrestlers sometimes wrestle in AEW. She had a great match with Mercedes Moné on AEW for I think it was title versus title match. She had a great match there. And Stephanie Vaccaro is a big time pickup, and also you get that Mexican demographic again, like having a Mexican wrestler again. WWE does really well with Mexican wrestlers, and it seems like they've done great with Japanese wrestling and Mexican wrestling. And what I love is that I feel like Triple H is again one of those dudes who just understands the world of wrestling. Where it felt like Vince only knew WWE, and unless someone brought a wrestler outside of WWE to his attention, he had no clue who these people were. Right? He had no clue. Whereas Triple H knows these people. He has William Regal out there scouting new talent as well. And so he is very aware of all the smaller promotions. He's watching those. He's keeping an eye on those as well. And he even allows some of these people to go wrestle in their old smaller promotions, maybe once or twice. Again, he understands the bigger picture. If I let Io Sky go wrestle in Japan once a year, okay, now a fan who's out there who goes, man, a fan of Japan might go, oh snap! I only watch New Japan. I didn't even watch WWE, but I really like this Io Sky girl. Let me tune into what else she's doing, and then they start becoming a weekly viewer of WWE content. So yeah, I just think I love what NXT is doing. I love what Shawn Michaels is doing with that division, and I think again Julia and Stephanie Bakar being added to that roster takes it to a whole nother level. And I think it was needed because there was some again in NXT the women's division. For those that don't know, you had Tiffany Stratton, you had a few other women that were killing it, right? And we're in the main event scene with Roxanne Perez. Well, Roxanne's still there, so some of the talent is still working their way up, still great. I want to be clear here. Like, it's not like it's Roxanne and a bunch of duds. No, it's Roxanne and a bunch of really talented women wrestlers. But there wasn't necessarily a bunch of like main event talent for Roxanne to go against. They were ready at this time. And Roxanne's a stud, so she's ready to go. She's kind of not really in the business of trying to, teach the new girls how to, to come up to her level. She's kind of trying to still make a name for herself so she can come up to the main roster. Well, Julia, Stephanie Bakar, main event talents, day one, right? So it's dope to see those two come in. That adds a ton to your roster. And yeah, both of them are great. And I like the fact they're having them both team together because they do have a history with each other, both being in Japan, wrestling in Japan around the same time. So I like them working together. I think they're going to work together for a certain moment and then also compete against each other, which NXT does very, very well. And they've done this for years, even when Triple H was over it, having two competitors go for a belt, not necessarily needing to be a heel versus babyface, but two babyfaces who just want to be champ, and one is in the other one's way of becoming champ. Right? That's very realistic. So I love that stuff. Um, so yeah. So now let's talk about. I was looking on YouTube. I saw a YouTube channel called Delightful, and they made a list of superstars that they want to see return to the WWE, and I thought it was a good idea to kind of go through it, give my opinions on their list. So let's quickly go through this. So number 10 was Becky Lynch, which we know lost at. I want to say she lost at WrestleMania. I want to say she lost at WrestleMania. Yeah, she lost at WrestleMania to Rhea. Or did she lose to Liv? I can't remember off the top of my head, but she basically Becky gave the belt up. Hasn't signed a contract with WWE yet, but I think plenty of people know that like she's not leaving Seth Rollins. She's not. I think she's taking time with her baby, which is very much understandable. But I think when she comes back, it'll definitely be WWE. She's smart. Like she's not stupid. So I think that this is a good person to have on the list. However, I don't think this is someone we're like, I can't wait to see them return as if they've been anywhere else but the WWE. They're just taking a break. So I don't really understand the inclusion of Becky on this list, but we'll go on. Adam Cole, baby, was another person out on the list. I agree with this one. Adam Cole was his best when he was in NXT Undisputed Era. For folks, if you don't know, Undisputed Era is one of the greatest factions of all time that wrestling nerds know about, but like the mainstream, they were cooking before this wrestling boom that we're seeing now, right? They were cooking 2017, 18, 19. They was cooking around that time. So this is before the little wrestling boom we had in about 2021, 22, right? So some fans missed that period. But man, go check it out. Go YouTube it, Undisputed Era. Again, they reminded me of the Four Horsemen. They reminded me of Evolution. They reminded me of all the great, really, really good factions. Top tier. And Adam Cole is one of the best in the world, man. And it's unfortunate when he went to AEW, started having some more injuries. They don't use him. They didn't use him very correctly either. And so it's kind of been a multitude of things. He had a cool little run with MJF, and he came back recently, so we'll see if something comes of that. But I would love to see him back in WWE just because I think him and Triple H worked really well together. And again, that was the peak of Adam Cole's career was under Triple H in NXT and WWE. So I love to see him actually get a chance to get back because Vince McMahon did not like him. Vince McMahon did not think he was a main event person or a main roster talent just because he was pretty small. And we know how we know how basic Vince McMahon is. If you're not, you have to be a certain size and all this stuff. So, and Triple H isn't that basic. Next is Moxley. John Moxley. My opinion. I think Moxley's the most overrated wrestler in the business. I don't think he's good. I think he's good, but I don't see the. Some people say superstar, any of that, bro. No, the dude looks again his facial expressions and all that, like his little, like even sometimes Cody Rhodes pisses me off when he punches himself in the mouth to make kind of look like a badass, feel like a badass type of situation. I feel like Moxley's doing that, but like 24/7. Like at all times, he's trying to look like a street dude who's like really tough and like it just comes off extremely fake, right? Like there's certain dudes who can walk around and you're like, oh, that dude's a badass. Like that dude's a real one, right? Undertaker, even when he was American Badass, he didn't have to give you it was nothing fake about him, right? When he walked around, it was just like, oh yeah, that's a bad dude right there. You know what I mean? There's certain dudes that just have that. Moxley does not. But he carries himself in a way that he wants to be looked at as a badass. I'm just like, bro, no, you look like a dude I've seen at, you know, LA Fitness. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not nothing special. I never understood the whole Moxley obsession. Good in the ring, but also very sloppy at times. Not very stiff, not athletic. I mean, he's fit. Honestly, I think he's fit for AEW. Some people want to see him come to WWE so we can have this WrestleMania, Shield triple threat match with Seth Rollins and Roman in this version of who they are as well. I mean, I think Mox could probably do better in today's WWE just because Vince is gone and Triple H kind of understood him a little better. But Triple H also didn't like him, right? He's very difficult to work with, right? Like go watch that WWE, go watch that interview, Broken Skulls interview between Stone Cold and John Moxley. It was weird. Even Stone Cold was like, "Bro, what's your deal, bro? Like, what are you on?" Like the dude is a weirdo. Also, he's very fake, and he's not that good of a wrestler. So I just don't understand the whole why this dude is like a 4-time AEW world champion. Like, bro, you ain't selling nothing if he's your world champion. If I'm being honest with you, you ain't getting no money draws. You ain't getting like AEW puts the belt on this dude as if he's gonna carry the show. And it's like, bro, I'm not tuning in to watch John Moxley. None whatsoever. Like MJF, cool, yeah. CM Punk, yeah. Like some other people, yeah. I'm not tuning in for no Moxley. Like I know what I'm getting, right? This is just dude who, likes to bleed a lot, and like his formula is very, Terry Funk ish. It's like cool, that's cool, once or twice, but every week, no, I don't want to watch that. Um, so I'm cool. If Moxley never comes back to WWE, I am perfectly fine. He had Mickey James, who I think would be a good one. I think Mickey James, especially if they brought Mickey James, to me, don't bring her to the main roster. Bring her to NXT. Have her go to NXT, be a rival with some people. She'd have some great banter with some people. Think of her and Roxanne Perez. Roxanne's gonna make some old jokes, but then Mickey's gonna give her a really good match. And I think behind the scenes, Mickey could be really good for the younger girls who are coming up, training and stuff at the performance center. Mickey still can go. She's older, but she can still go. You know what I mean? She can teach a lot of these girls like a more independent style wrestling. Not necessarily just the WWE style of wrestling, but just different forms of wrestling since Mickey's been all over the world wrestling. So I think that'd be a good return. Next is the Hardy Boys. Now, gotta be honest. If the Hardy Boys were to come back, I'd only want to see maybe one match. Give me a Mania or a SummerSlam, and then goodbye. You know what I mean? I ain't trying to see these old decrepit dudes jump off a ladder. Like I'm just not. I'm not. I don't want to see Jeff Hardy jump off a ladder in the 4 tables. It's like, bro, I'm worried about this dude's safety, right? Like I'm cool on that, right? But if it's for one time and one time only, and they know, okay, this is the last one. We can go crazy this time, but this is the last one. This is our swan song. I think that'd be great. I think that'd be really cool. All right, next we have Athena Ember Moon. For those who are more familiar with her in WWE and NXT, I think Ember Moon, honestly, I do think she could be successful in WWE because she obviously was before, and Triple H understands her. Obviously, she was successful in WWE in NXT when Triple H was over NXT. I don't think Vince understood her well, so I do think she could be a welcome addition to the roster. However, I'm always scared about, like, I feel like some of these people, again, I'm more of a pragmatist, like I'm more of a logical wrestling fan, right? I try to think business wise, right? Or with a producer's mindset. Um, when people throw out names to return to WWE, what I always think of is, okay, what are they going to do after that? That after that first storyline, because we all know when they first come back, when they first return, they're going to have a storyline ready for them. It's going to be great. It's going to be prepared and all this stuff. Okay, what after that? Right? What about after that on that random episode of Raw or SmackDown? What are they going to be doing? Are they going to be all right? Will they be able to make TV? That's what I always worry about, right? So, like when they brought it back, like Tommaso Ciampa or Johnny Gargano, right? I was always like, okay, that sounds great, but what are they going to do on a regular episode of Raw? On a normal episode where they don't have the hottest storyline? Are they going to be on TV? Are they going to be forgotten? So my worry about with Ember Moon is that I think she'd be fine. I think initially she'd be great because we know she can wrestle, but it just worries me that she would kind of fade in the background, and then people would, 6 months down the line, they're like, "Why can't Ember Moon get any time in the ring? She's not getting in this or that." You know what I mean? Whereas now Athena's killing it. Like she's had a great couple years over in she in Impact or is she in, I want to say, or is she Ring of Honor? Sorry, she's in Ring of Honor. Like she's been killing it, having a great run. Doesn't get the views. Unfortunately, Tony Khan does not use her whatsoever for whatever reason. Um, but she's getting a lot of shine. Not necessarily, obviously, at the WWE level shine, but she is getting shine. You know what I mean? She isn't back in catering. She's out there doing her thing. She's a champ. So I I'm a little worried, more hesitant on that one. I think she's talented enough to be in WWE for sure, but I just don't want her to fade in the background. When right now she's doing her thing, having a really good run. I wish Tony Khan would use her more. All right, last one I would do is Matt Riddle. Some people are saying, they'd like to see him back. The only way I'd like to see Matt Riddle back is if he is a different version of Matt Riddle. Now, I will say, apparently he has some allegations. I don't keep up with that stuff. Apologies for those out there who do. I don't keep up with the allegations. So if he did something awful and terrible, he shouldn't be back whatsoever. I think that's why he was fired. But then, again, I'm just going off of this list. They had Matt Riddle there, so I'm just going to go off hypothetical and kind of not factor in the allegations. I don't know those, so this is just for the game purposes. But Matt Riddle, the only way I would enjoy a Matt Riddle return is if he came back as the NXT version of Matt Riddle. The NXT version of Matt Riddle was a machine, right? He walked out there sort of like Kurt Angle machine um, era. Kurt Angle, he kind of went that way, a little more MMA style rather than like technical wrestling style. But he went with that submissions and things of that nature. Like, so he was a problem rather than being just the funny guy with the lines and makes homages to smoking and all that stuff. No, he was like legitimately wearing people out. Like he never got the title, never got the NXT title, but it was a really talented roster at that time, so it really didn't matter. Like his star wasn't dimmed due to not having titles. But yeah, dude is really talented. It just sucks that he's an idiot, right? So yeah, I think if Riddle did come back again, I would only want to see him as a machine, more serious type of vibe. You know what I mean? But yeah, folks, let me know what you think about the latest stuff going on. Are you excited about the Bloodline reunion? Are you excited about Crown Jewel? Some of the matchups, Cody versus Gunther. Liv versus Nia. Are you excited about the KO? Like, how do you are you on KO's side of this thing, or are you on Cody's side of this, or Randy's? Let me know what you think. And also the latest in NXT. Let me know your thoughts. Hopefully, you guys are tuning in to NXT. Hopefully, this podcast is helping that. Hopefully, you guys can tune in to NXT, man. It's a great experience. I know sometimes you can be reluctant because it's like, well, I just want to see stars that are kind of well known that I already know. I don't have to invest too much time in getting to know these new people. But trust me, once you get to know some of these people and the talent in NXT, bro, it's a satisfying experience when you can see a wrestler, when you can see a Tiffany Stratton walk in the door day one, have her first match, solid, but you see the potential, but you're like, okay, I see she has ways to go, and then follow her for months on, and then see her continuously get better, and then you kind of have like more of a proud moment going on. You're proud of like your child here almost, right? And then you go on to see them go to the main roster and have success, and it's like it's a different type of feeling than you get with the main roster, right? And so I just hope that people are tuning in NXT because they're cooking right now. Again, it's a black show. We love that. But also, again, NXT is developmental, so it's fun to see someone start out and then move on up the card. Braun Breaker, right? Plenty of people like that, right? So, yeah, tune in to NXT if you can. It's definitely well worth it. But yeah, until next time, we out. Yeet.